Well, good evening, everyone. It is Sunday evening, November 25th, and we are here with Greg, coaching with Greg this Sunday evening. This is our, the sixth week, and our title this evening is "What You Do to Get There is What You Do to Stay There." And that's the story about Stephanie. And so Greg is going to go over what he shared leading up to this story. So go ahead, Coach Greg, take it away.
Okay, to review last week, because this story of Stephanie builds on last week's story, it was a story of Morgan and take feeling out of it. Anytime we're using a system of success, it's important that we follow the system and not base what we do, what we don't do, or base adjustments on what we like or don't like, or what is comfortable or uncomfortable. And that was the story of Morgan. Another issue we run into is when we get to a new level, sometimes we think everything needs to change. And that's the story of Stephanie. I first met Stephanie when she started taking hitting lessons from me when she was 14. By the time she was 17, she had numerous D1 schools recruiting her. She came to a lesson one day and handed me a card, which was an invitation to a signing at her school. And at the signing, she said she was going to take a couple weeks off during the holiday season and that she'd start back up with lessons the second week of January. Well, she showed up second week of January with her mom. We went upstairs, grabbed the tunnel. I set up the tee to do our standard warm-up drill. And Stephanie backed up and said, "I want to do something new." I said, "What?" She goes, "I want to do something new and different. Now that I'm a D1 athlete, there must be some new drill to do." I said, "Stephanie, grab your stuff and follow me." We went back downstairs, sat down with her mom, who was waiting at one of the tables in the lobby. And I told her mom, "I'm not going to give Stephanie a lesson today because she wants to do something new and different now that she's a D1 athlete. And I think there's something she needs to learn. What I'm going to do is, since she doesn't have school tomorrow, I'm going to leave a pass for her at the front desk. That will allow her to get in during the morning while the Royals players, some of them are working out before they go to spring training." And I looked at Stephanie and I said, "Stephanie, I want you to pick one of those Royals players who's doing their hitting workout and just observe everything that they do. Then come back in tomorrow night and I'll give you a lesson." Well, the next night, Stephanie showed up for her lesson. Before we went upstairs, I sat down with her mom and Stephanie and asked her what she had learned. I said, "What did the player do?" She said, "Well, the player I followed, he spent about 20 minutes in front of the mirrors practicing his swing, checking his balance, his posture, his stride, etc." I said, "Then what did he do?" "He had some water. Then he did shadow swings over a tee with no ball on it, working the different contact points." I said, "Okay, that's a drill we do. Then what did he do?" "He had some water. Then he did the same drill, but with a ball on the tee. He did that for about 30 minutes. Like, okay, so we do that drill as well, right? Stephanie said, "Yeah." I said, "Then what did he do?" "Well, he had some water and a banana, and then he did soft toss with his coach at those same contact points." I said, "Okay, a drill that we do quite often." "Then what did he do?" he had some water, and then they did short toss pretty close with the coach behind the net tossing to those contact points. I said, then what did he do? She said his lesson or his workout was over. I said, so how long did it take? She said, about 2 hours. I said, so there was no live hitting? There was no hitting off a pitching machine? She said, no. I said, what did you learn from this? She goes, what you do to get there is what you do to stay there. Now that's a powerful concept because quite often we get distracted when we're working a business or working a project. And after we work it for a while or we get to a new level, we think that things have to change or there's some new special way to do things, or we get distracted by the shiny new. In Stephanie's case, she got distracted by the fact that she had become a D1 collegiate athlete and she thought something needed to change. But what she needed to understand was the same basics that got her to that collegiate scholarship would keep her in that collegiate scholarship. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Linda.
Well, this is pretty straightforward. You know, basically the same thing that applies to our business is, you know, so many times when we get to a new level, whether it's district manager, area manager, regional vice president, or national vice president, it's easy to rely on, you know, on our teams or thinking now we need to do something different because we're at this level. When we do that, we're taking the best player out of the game. And so realizing that you need to continue the basics that got you to basically district manager. It's the same thing that gets you to area and the same thing that gets you to region and nation. So it's that duplication of the example that you're showing those that are coming on board that they need to be doing the same thing. So whatever you do duplicates. And so understanding this concept is so powerful so that you don't, again, take yourself out of the game. You just keep doing what you did to get there. You've just mastered the skills better so that you can, it takes less time than it did at the beginning when you were learning the skills. And so love this story, and it's pretty straightforward in how it applies to our business, but also to life. So Greg, is there something else that you wanted to share around that story?
Yes, it doesn't make any difference what age the person is. This is a common issue that you run into. And another story about a major league ball player who ran into the same thing was Barry Bonds. He was a great hitter for the San Francisco Giants. He was feared by pitchers because he hit for power, but he hit for average. And a couple years after he was in the majors and hitting very well, he went into a bad slump, and he was in the slump for about 6 weeks. And then finally he came out of that slump. And a reporter asked him if he had changed anything to get out of the slump. And his response was yes and no. He said, yes, I changed something to get into the slump, but I unchanged it to get out of the slump. When he went into the slump, he had changed his workout routine because he was in the majors now. He thought he needed a different routine. When he came out of the slump, he went back to the same hitting warm-up routine that he had used in the minor leagues. He went back to that same workout that had gotten him to the major leagues, and it got him out of his slump. So this is a common issue that people run into when they move to a new level or they get distracted by the shiny new. they want to do something different, and that different takes them away from the system of success instead of taking them deeper into the system of success.
And I think that applies also to understanding what energizes you, staying in the zone of where you are at your best. Because these players, when they're in that, doing the basics to get there, they obviously were in their zone at the best, at their best. And so the question is, why do we take ourselves out when it worked? And so remembering, I think sometimes we forget, to what that thing is that energizes us. I know personally in my journey, when I was in the zone building my business one-on-one with people because of the relationship building, and I was just in that space of really being at my best, and it was very productive and very effective. And then when I got to a certain level, I thought I needed to be something else. And so I took myself out of the game trying to manage, which is typical. That's why I kind of wish our titles were a little different. Instead of, district manager, it was district leader. I like the word leader because that's really, who we are and what we're being is leading people and developing leaders that can lead leaders as well. So duplicating that. So the message tonight, is pretty clear, but the big message is, where are you at your best, and understand the basics of, basically sponsoring, sharing, sponsoring, and selling, and continuing to do those things and mastering those skills, but just keep doing that in a way that energizes you, and you'll be unstoppable in your business and beyond, and you'll be duplicating yourself like crazy. So next week, is there anything else, Greg, that you wanted to share along those lines?
Well, when you were talking about management levels, it reminded me of the fact that in Arbonne, management levels are really volume. And so you're not hitting a new level, you're hitting a new volume. And what you did to get to that volume level is what you're going to do to get to the next volume level.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the way the volume happens is duplicating leaders. Mm-hmm. Because you can sell so much, but if you're not duplicating yourself, you're not going to be able to maintain that. And so, developing leaders is really the key. So continuing to do that is going to create massive volume. And so that's the name of the game. So with that, Greg, next week, what do we get to look forward to?
Next week is a story about goal setting and the difference between a future goal and a cycling goal and the power of a cycling goal. And it's the story of Emily and no one gets to first. Very powerful story. One of the main stories in my book, 2-4-12.
Yeah, that's a powerful story. It gets me every single time, and it will apply so well to your goals, and not only personal goals, but to your team goals as well. So I would invite you to jump back on next week and be sure and listen to these. And again, if you have any questions of Coach Greg, please post those in the Nation page when this is posted. And hopefully these are helpful, that will help you when you're out there doing the swinging, all of the things that you're learning, that you will continue to remember that this is all part of, every part of life. It's just getting better. It's just mastering the skills. It's just stepping into the best version of you. And so thank you, Greg, for your experience and your wisdom, and your what's the word? Availability. That's not the word I'm looking for, but your willingness to jump on here and pour into our team. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll see you next week. Have a fabulous, fabulous month end. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, and Cyber Monday is going to explode. So be ready. Every holiday will sell out, I believe, in just a few hours. So I would hop on and, set your alarm to be up. If you're Central Time, it's 2 a.m. Set your alarm to get everything that you want on your holiday list. And anyway, thanks for listening this evening. We'll see you next week.